So the class that we're going to talk about is trading as a business, how to capture and keep market generated wealth. And we called it trading as a business because it seemed to be what people were asking for. They wanted to get off of the cycle of ups and downs, constantly worrying, constantly being unsure of how they were operating in the market. So what became apparent very quickly was that people thought of trading as freedom. It was going to be the way that they were going to navigate and uh, ensure their financial well-being and the well-being of their family. So it became for them more about financial freedom than anything else. So if you've opened your text pad, if you want to say a few words about who you are, again, I can see the chat, so I'll just be picking up on that whenever you let me know. I'm Guy Porter. Before I came to trading, I started out in college, majored in philosophy and neurobiology, and of course, none of the big philosophy companies were hiring when I graduated. After a few different starts at doing this, that, and the other, I actually went to chiropractic school so that I could practice acupuncture. I've been an adjunct professor. I have taught thousands of adult learners. I just love it. Taught postgraduate work. And more to the point, though, with trading, I made a career change, about 22 years ago, when I was not physically able to do chiropractic work anymore. I got an autoimmune disease that worked on my joints. It was called psoriatic arthritis. And I was so glad that for the previous 10 or 15 years, maybe even 20 years before that, I had been operating in the markets and I had a different way to make money besides, my normal employment. And I think for a lot of people that come to this class, you may have a day job that doesn't have anything at all to do with finance, but you might see trading as a way that's really going to help you either change careers or leave careers entirely. And in fact, throughout my lifetime, I've been able to do that at certain points either. Trading by itself really got me through several years when I just couldn't do anything else except move a mouse. So as far as the lessons and so forth, if we are here in this chart of the S&P 500, then I started trading back there in 1985 before there were so many of the great innovations there are today. So as we go through this discussion, I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience, some of the things that are in store for you when you take this class. But I want you to know that sometimes I'm a little blunt, I'm a little perhaps crude, and that's because I grew up in New Jersey. I'm an Italian. This is what all my neighbors looked like. So, forget about it. Anyway, let's talk about you. I'm interested to know what frustrates you the most in trading. I've talked to, again, hundreds, maybe thousands of traders, and I've helped investors get through their hard times. And there are a few stories that I keep hearing over and over again as far as what's making you stop, what are your mistakes, what is it that makes it so that you don't think you could rely on your own trading and your own expertise in order to be financially independent? So that's what we're really going to get to in this webinar tonight and in the course. One of the first things I see is either confusion or an emotional anxiety and elation. When I ask traders what it is that they do in order to get their profits, really very few people can answer more than a couple of questions about their system, about what they're doing. So if this is an issue for you, you actually know it, and it is behind part of the confusion or the anxiety you might feel as you're trading. What people say all the time, and I think that, Robert, you even get this in the algorithmic trading course, is I want to remove the emotions from trading. And I guess it would be great if somebody could do an operation and remove your emotions, but honestly, that's not going to happen. You're going to have emotions about trading, but if we do things properly, you'll have the right emotions, and you'll be able to handle the emotions that come up as you're trading. The stock market itself is a very expensive form of therapy, but it will show you exactly who you are, and it will stress you and shake you. Um, if you have emotional weakness, if you have uh, some little, I don't know, some little hidden doubt, these things will be brought out by the market. The next complaint I hear from people is that they're not consistent. They want to know how they can make gains but keep them. A lot of times people say that it's easy to make money in the stock market. It's really hard to keep it. And I think that's true. I know that in some of the algo classes I've been in at LumiWealth, there have been people who've actually tripled their little nest egg only to lose most of it the following year. When they talk about things like that, they talk about trading mistakes. Lots of wouldas, shouldas, couldas. And if you really analyze what these mistakes are, it goes back to number one, part of the confusion, and it's what we address in the class as far as getting your algorithm together. Now, you don't have to be a programmer to have an algorithm. An algorithm is just a set of, we'll say, stereotyped steps that you take, as well as the steps that you take in the face of different risks or eventualities in the market, what have you. Not only do you need to know how you're going to get in, but you need to know how you're going to get out. So a lot of times people say things like, they'll characterize their difficulty as, I don't have good entries, or I don't have good exits. It's basically the same thing. It's a bit of the emotion, it's a bit of the confusion. And if you really get banged around by the market, and everybody I know who's made six figures in the market has lost five figures in the market. I don't know any good trader who did not blow up an account. Now, that doesn't mean that's the way to do it. I'm not advising you to blow up an account, but these things happen, and they bring with them emotional scarring that you really have to get through and be free of in order to be able to trade and rely on your trading for your own financial independence. That's what we're trying to design this course for. There's a lot of self-assessment in the course, and we talk about it with each other. We're very collaborative, and we ask very hard questions. Sometimes the questions don't have answers immediately. Sometimes you have to stew on them. Sometimes it takes a couple weeks to get to it. You'll need to be comfortable with being in the question rather than getting the answer. And it's this kind of work that Robert and I started to talk about when we said, what would the ultimate trading course look like, especially for LumiWealth students who've been exposed to algos, cryptocurrencies, crypto bots, artificial intelligence. I mean, when you think about the depth of the community at LumiWealth, it's tremendous, the breadth of knowledge that's there. So we wanted to design a course that would arm people with what they needed to confidently go into the markets beyond just programming, and not to insult any programmers, but that's really not all there is to operating properly in the market. So as we designed this course, we wanted to have a strong sense of community. We wanted to be focused, and we want to get clear results. And so far, I'll tell you, I'm very happy with the results the first class has gotten. Everyone has moved through each of the stages as they were supposed to. And that's because between what Robert's done and what I've done in my other practice at the advisory, we've been able to come up with a way to design, develop, and deploy your trading system. We've put it into 3 phases. The first is survive. You have to find a way to operate in the market that's profitable, and you have to get that systematized, I would say. Now, if you have a system that's not working for you, perfect. We're here to patch that up and get it going. If you have no idea of what kind of a system you would devise, that's okay too, because we're using a kind of a template, an exemplar of a momentum strategy, which is something that you could easily take to put to work for you. And once you have a system that's working, then we talk about how to scale it, because it's important to be able to make your gains, let me say, more solid by being able to scale them. So if you know how to gather a good 5% move in the index, there's no reason you couldn't turn that into a good 7.5% move, or even perhaps a good 10% move, if you scale it correctly and use the right kinds of trading techniques. Lastly, is what we're all here for. It's to succeed. It's to know that either you're financially independent or you can see it from here. Now, I do work with people who have family offices and millions of dollars and so on and so forth. And most of those people did not make their money from the stock market or from trading. However, all of them and all of you, if you're successful in trading, are going to have issues with taxes. You're going to want this wealth to be protected from people who want to get at it. You may want to be able to pass it down to your kids or to some charities that you're involved in. You know, most people, once they do well for themselves, they want to do some good in the community, and that's where success really comes in. So what's unique about this course is we really take you from nothing all the way to getting to the point where you're going to secure your personal wealth and your family's wealth for decades. I don't know if this course is for you or not. What we look for are people who are collaborative. So if you come in with your idea for how to beat the market and you think that your secret sauce is so good that you can't possibly share it with anyone, probably not the place for you. We're looking for people who are committed to helping the other people in the class, who are committed to getting help for themselves. And we want people who are coachable. Now, I know that everyone thinks they're coachable. I mean, if I ask you, are you coachable? The answer is, supposed to be yes. However, here's the thing with being coached. You're going to be asked to make a change. And you're going to be asked to make a change because you're not getting the results that you want. But the change is uncomfortable. It is for everyone. That's just how our brains are built. So if you're willing to go through a little of that pain, I'm committed to going through it with you and coming out the other end as someone who's successful with operating in the markets. And the last thing is just, is this the right time for you? Because some people have family tragedies and have to work overtime and so on and so forth. So this has to be the right time for you. And one of those factors is being able to devote 5, maybe even 10 hours outside of class during the week to working in the markets, doing some reading, answering some homework questions, improving your system, and so forth. And really, that's just the work it takes in order to be successful. There's not a free ride to this. So if there are people for whom the course is right, there are people for whom the course is wrong, and the first category is spectators. This course is for people who are either going to open up a paper trading account or have a retirement account or a brokerage account. Doesn't have to be big, but it's for people who are actually making systems, deploying them, and trying to find out if they can do better. So we don't want people just kind of sitting on the sidelines. During class, and if you're an alumnus and you go to the alumni discussion hours, you'll see that I ask people questions. I ask you to participate. The group is small. Everyone is there to support you. I know sometimes you get nervous about speaking out in groups and so forth, but really we're here to help each other. And I will assure you that there will be no Monday morning quarterbacks. No one is going to get in there and say, oh, well, you should have this, you should have that, because we're all going to be in there and we're going to be making big, dumb mistakes, because that's what happens as you experiment with things. So we're not allowing any jerks in there. It's a safe space. There's confidentiality and collegiality. Because look, what we're trying to do is make it so that you have a way up and out, so that whatever problems you're having with your trading can be absolutely identified, addressed, and solved in the space of the course. So I have some bad news, and this may be heartbreaking, but there are hundreds, maybe even thousands of professors at really good universities that are going to tell you that what we're about to try to do is entirely impossible. And the reason for that is because the market is efficient, because there's no edge you could possibly get that hasn't been gotten already, that there's no free lunch, etc. And while they'll tell you that, as we'll see in a second, not everyone is really listening to them. Although, if you are a retail investor, that is somebody who goes to one of these big box advisory places, it's palliative for you to hear that there's no way to beat the market, because then you won't expect that performance from your financial professional. So when everybody tells you you can't do this, in a way, they're often correct. 90% of futures accounts blow up in the first 90 days. Okay, in the old days when there actually were big commissions, every commodity broker who opened an account realized that whatever was in that account on opening day would eventually become commissions to the broker and would leave the account of the victim. So look, people make mistakes all the time. It's not your fault, but according to the Dalbar study, which has been going on for 25, maybe even 30 years, they survey big investment houses, and still the average investor's lifetime return is 4.3% a year because of mistakes. So it's no wonder that there's a retirement crisis, and it's no wonder that it appears to you to be so hard to really get help for living the dream that you want, because it's just hard to access the right people, the right information. Speaking of which, when you go out there to trade, the markets have what's called asymmetrical information. And every time you make a trade, if you are not wondering to yourself why the other guy took your trade, you're kind of missing something. Okay, because you both agreed on the price, but you both disagreed diametrically on the value. So the person you bought your stock or your crypto from must believe it's going down. The question is, are they smarter than you? Are you smarter than them? So one of the arcane advantages that people have in stocks and options is that there's certain tools and certain privileges available to them, and we will go and make sure that these become available to you as well, so that that disadvantage is just taken off the table. But along with the bad news, you need to know that the folks who built this thing and people who do this kind of work for a living and scientists who do this kind of data stuff, well, they too have met the market, and you will meet them, because so many of them have left their chosen professions or their initial professions in order to get a multiple of their salaries by operating on the street. And these people have more capital and probably more information than you do. And here you're stuck in this place. You're responsible for your well-being. Perhaps you have a couple of kids. You have a spouse you're responsible to. Every time a dollar gets lost in this account, it just increases the anxiety, maybe even the guilt. with what's happening here. And that is, this kind of horrible labyrinth is the type of thing that we want to extract you from. And we do it again by a self-assessment process at first that gets very clear where you're at, what you're doing, and in some cases, what kind of results you can expect from it. So I've told you that there's data scientists, algorithmic traders, there's sheer geniuses being paid mid-six figures by Goldman Sachs to just show up, not even make a profit. So where does that leave the regular common person? So I want to tell you about a friend of mine named Caleb. Caleb is a cattle rancher down south. He trades in the mornings from about 7:30 to 9:30. That's when there's enough volume for his system to work. Sometimes he'll spend all day trading, but when he's done, he goes and plays with his kid, hangs out with his wife. He likes to do construction. And Caleb, without any college and really not some very good grades in high school math, is there consistently taking money out of the market. And he does it because he's developed an instinct and because he has a set of psychological and physical skills that no one in this room has, having gone through the training he did as a Marine. So it wasn't mathematics and computer programming that's helping Caleb. It's a lot of the superpowers he has inside, and each of you has one also. Something has brought you here. You've had some success in trading or learning about trading, and that superpower that you have, whatever it is what's going to start to propel you. And the market is going to test all the superpowers you don't have. Well, I've been very pleased with the first class. Everybody who has taken it is in the middle of improving their system. I'm not going to use real names here, but Chet is an overworked and overburdened software developer. His big deal was this: he couldn't watch the market real time, but he did have a way to identify the start of a good 3-day trend. And he was making some pretty leveraged bets. As a result, he was getting outsized losses. And what we did, and this probably took, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks of implementation, is we started to enforce the stop losses in a different way. And we're continuing to work with that because for a lot of systems, again, easy to make money, hard to keep it. You really have to just be cognizant of when you're losing and what that loss looks like. So this is Linda, 2 kids, husband in grad school. She's very involved in her kid's life. She's a partner in her firm, and she's a very smart woman. She did not want to create her own system, so she found an off-the-shelf algo that made sense to her. I forget the name, Supertrend or something. Anyway, these are commonly available, in fact, free programs or indicators that you can find anywhere. So she took this off-the-shelf algo and she started to refine it. And for the first couple of weeks, we were getting some really small gains. So we started to use bracket orders. If you're familiar with that, fine. If not, it was a great boon to her. Then the gains were still small, but we decided to apply some leverage. And once we applied that kind of leverage, we actually exceeded the capacity of the market to take all of her trades. So we're doing paper trading. So by the time she's getting up to swinging $100,000 at a time, there was not enough volume to handle her entire account. So we had to actually go to correlated markets. This is one of the big successes of this cohort. And in fact, it's a system that we actually might take to the point of getting outside investors, or as it's known, a hedge fund. I want to tell you that there's a couple of other people who are going to help with this class. This is Jamie. Jamie has his own system. He just pops in every once in a while, has a feel for a couple of stocks, and every so often he'll take four figures out of the market just on a kind of a sniping sort of technique. He is a financial advisor, so he's always around the market, and he can spot opportunities as they just pop up. This is my longtime friend and business partner, Mike Kickham, part of Porter Kickham, one of the advisories that I work in. We manage $55 million. Mike is not a trader, he's an allocator. We'll talk about that a little later, but for those of you who think that you have to trade every minute of the day, this is a guy who has used asset allocation and has put 8 children through parochial school from elementary school all the way up through college. So, trading frantically all through the day is not the only way to make money here. So I'd like to go through what are the steps to make this successful for you, and just let you know that the first thing to do is to survive. Very important for you to have some sort of system, some type of way to approach and interpret the market. And again, if you don't have one, that's something that we can supply during phase one. We have a concept here of a minimally viable algorithm, and that's a lot of syllables to say a trading system that works a little bit. So we need to find a way to make profit from the market. And in phase one, like in all our phases, there's 3 parts. In phase one, you need to have some clarity. You need the fundamentals down, and then you need your strategy explained and documented. And I want to go through very, very quickly 6 different strategies that people use to extract profit. Some people follow trends. According to the efficient market, trends should not exist, and yet we know they do. We can identify them, and we should not be able to, yet here we are. People use mean reversion all the time, especially when it concerns 2 different stocks that travel in opposite directions often, or sometimes called spread trading. Mean reversion, another one of these inefficiencies that stubbornly makes money for some people. Information theory. This information theory was developed in the early 1960s, I believe, and the thing about information theory is this: we can show you how to look at a stock chart, and in 5 minutes, you can see where there's new information coming into the market and where the market is still digesting the information. You can train your eye to see this. No offense to any programmers, but you don't need programming to work this way. It's very stress-free. There's not a lot of fear and nervousness in it. It's a great way to operate in the market. One thing that LumiWealth has really worked on well is sentiment, keeping your fingers on the pulse of the market. In the artificial intelligence course, you actually build a program which can read Reddit threads or Twitter or what have you, and find out what everyone else is thinking about various stocks. As I mentioned with Mike, you can use modern portfolio theory to do some sorts of rebalancing between different assets. This is for your longer term stuff. And certainly technical analysis and market timing is one of the most popular things that we find in LumiWealth and out in the market itself, because people really like to be able to play around with the numbers and invent different relationships that may or may not work as far as the market goes. If you're able to see the chat, I'm going to put the a link in there for this very infographic right here. so that you can have a look at it and perhaps see where your interest lies, where your system may be on the scale. And again, if you don't have one, don't worry. By the time we get into the third or fourth week, everyone's working on one or another, and then it's time to scale. Don't be afraid. We are always thinking big. We're always starting small. And the thing is, scale or fail. If we find that your bot or your algorithm's working and making money, it's time to, make more money. So the scaling part of the class has to do with implementing what you've designed and then improving it as we monitor it. And then, as I said, leverage. So here's an interesting and perhaps uncomfortable question. Is it worth your while to risk your money in your trading account? Or are you adding any value to your account by being a manager? Okay, these are uncomfortable questions because for some people, it turns out that they would be better off not trading because for whatever reason, they're actually not very good at it and they're committed to staying that way. These people should delegate that to someone else who can do it. And maybe that would be somebody like you. So what we do in phase 2 is take a look at your results and we start to compare them to a benchmark. And we start to take a look at how well your profits are sticking around, right? Because we want to make money, but we also want to keep it. So by using a number of these mathematical formulas, which can be programmed in Excel, again, you don't have to know Python, using a number of these formulas, we really get a handle on how you're doing. And at that point, really what we're talking about is the success module. Okay, if you have a tradable inefficiency, if you have an algorithm that's working and you can scale it even a little bit, or not at all if you don't want to, now you're going to run into a tax problem at the very least. Because if you do this great trading system that makes, 25% one year, maybe 40% in a year, you will be giving back more than a third of that money to your business partner, the US government, unless you structure your operation in a very specific way. And that's one of the reasons we call this trading as a business. It's not that you're going to go out and be an investment company or be a hedge fund if you don't want to. I mean, you don't have to do those things. But you do have to pay taxes. And if you're successful as a trader, you'll be very interested in saving money on taxes. So in my work at LifeStream, we're accustomed to helping people move through each of these phases. And again, most of those people are business owners, not traders. But trading is a business. You can make it a business. And as you do, as your assets start to change, one of your biggest concerns, again, is going to be taxes as well as market risk. So if you're somebody who's serious enough to actually make the jump from being a dilettante or being a part-time trader to someone who knows that your operations in the market are going to bring you greater wealth, we have an app called Elements, and Elements tracks in real time how close you are to financial freedom. So without going into the detail of a lot of these things like the burn rate or the savings rate, etc., if you look right over here, there's something called total term. And if Perry were to liquidate his business, his house, and his retirement accounts, this young guy here has almost 18 years of living when we take a look at everything. And that's where the real power of planning and the real power of structuring your business comes in when you can make it so that you become financially independent and work becomes optional. I think that's what everyone's trying to do, is to make working for someone else be optional. So the way it goes is that your savings, which is your trading account, whether that's an IRA or a brokerage account or a futures account, your savings starts to produce income for you. Here we have the income rate. You must pay taxes. How much depends on you and what you do. You must arrange for the ownership of this correctly. And finally, what we want is as much money from savings to go into your long-term wealth and to be untouchable as possible. That's what makes your wealth permanent. And the way it's done is by having a system that always is developing, implementing, monitoring, and improving your different trading ideas. So what we have with trading as a business is a complete system. And really, let me share with you what it looks like at LumiWealth. If you go to lumiwealth.com, there's a little drop down here for courses, and this is trading as a business. And you'll see a course description very much like I've had here. And of course, you can read about your own gut-wrenching experiences. But what I'd like to talk about right now is the curriculum. This is a pretty detailed curriculum of what we go over. It's in 3 sections, as I mentioned. There's surviving, then there's scaling, and then there's what you have to do to stay successful. Okay. And whether you're a beginner or advanced, we'll cater this course to your needs, because we don't have a bunch of people taking it. I mean, I think our limit on this is something like 20 or 25. So if you want to have personalized help in developing a system, perhaps that others invest in, if you want personalized help in creating your wealth and making it last, then you would want the special project help. And if you're looking to make sure that you're at least successful, that you're not taking too much risk, that you're trading correctly, that the books are in order, that you're not paying too much taxes, then perhaps starting out with trading as a business, the live class is for you. Do not forget, though, scroll down to the bottom here, and here is a coupon which ends in just a couple of days, which will give you a substantial amount of money off the price of the course. So be sure to copy the coupon code so that when you select the course, you are able to get that 20% discount. And the coupon, come on, boys. Oh, see, I already bought this course, so I can't show you what I want to. At any rate, for you right now, there's a decision. You can keep things going the way they've been the whole time. You can continue to be as worried as you are, or you can start to engage in fearless investing. You can become more confident when the market moves. And listen, I'm not the first one to tell you that we're in a historic time. We may be teaching you how to trade at the very bottom of one of the worst bear markets ever. Could you imagine having started trading at the bottom of the 1929 crash? I mean, what an opportunity if you just knew how to invest and keep the money you were making as the market went through those gyrations. I think that we're going to have the same kinds of opportunities here. For you to pick the right course, I've made a little scorecard, and I'll give you the link to it here so you can have it and talk about it. There's a link right here. Let me put this in the chat. And this will help you decide which of these that might be right for you. Good, good. Okay. And a lot of times people have a job and they want to learn how to trade so that they can quit their job and trade professionally. I remember one time somebody offered to teach me how to trade, and they said, you could trade from the beach. You could be in the Bahamas and be trading. And I have to tell you that if I'm on the beach and trading, I'm doing it wrong. Okay, I want to be on the beach and be on the beach. So we're not teaching you how to slave over a hot monitor all day. We're teaching you the ways to make lasting wealth, to collaborate perhaps with programmers who know more than you do about the subject, and have them help you to have an algorithm or a bot working. We've got 2 guys in the class now who are working on that very thing. So I know as you're thinking about this, you must be thinking, it's a bunch of money. Can I afford it? Is it worth it? There's just so much consternation and so forth about this. So I want to just go through this little quiz here, okay? I want to know what 2 things each of these events have in common. So I'm going to go through the events right now. The Spanish flu, 1929, the Wall Street crash, the Great Depression with the climate change that went along with it, a world war where the U.S. was attacked and the U.S. was involved in Europe as well as over in Asia, hostilities between the U.S. and Russia, social upheaval, problems with the energy supply chain, hyperinflation, and volatility in the stock market. What 2 things do all of these have in common? Well, I'm going to do the easy one. Number 1, each of them took place in the 1900s. That's number 1. And number 2, this pretty much sums up our last 3 years. We've had a century of stuff happen to us in the last 3 or 4 years. If you're overwhelmed, if you're stressed or anxious, of course you are. You would be a psychopath not to be able to have some anxiety and stress about what's going on. And let me tell you that the purpose of our class is to get the people of Lumi Wealth together, to make it so that your investing works for you, to make it so that your trading is something that becomes safer and safer instead of more and more risky. And, you know, the way to do it is by starting today with the Trading as a Business course. So if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in the chat. I'm going to be here for, you know, Robert assures me that there's such a lag on this that I really need to stay for like a minute or 2. So that's what I'm going to do. And I will wait for any questions from you. If you don't have any, then, you know, go right to lumiwealth.com and sign up. The course starts when you sign up. It doesn't start in November. So if you're thinking of taking this, I do want to have a Zoom conversation with you for 30, 45 minutes. I'd like to know who you are. I'd like to know what your goals are. And we can even assess your strengths and your weaknesses, because with these small classes, we tailor it exactly to what you need, exactly to what you're looking for, and for the results that you're looking for. So I'm ready to talk to you. I'm very happy with what's happened in the first cohort. everyone has a system that's beginning to work, and there's even one that's investable for others. So just tremendous results there, and a lot of it has to do with the great background that people get from Robert's courses. Okay. So if you decide that later you need to give me a call or have a conversation, there's a way to get in touch with me on each of those handouts that you can download from Google. And lastly, listen, attention these days is one of the most valuable commodities, and it's rapidly disappearing. So I appreciate that you guys stopped for 45 minutes in a row and listened to this conversation. And I'm happy to spend 45 minutes in a row with you working on your problems and the challenges that you face in order to make trading work for you. So again, feel free to schedule a Zoom conference. Feel free to sign up right away. Please use the coupon because that does give you the 20% off. And I hope to see y'all live and in a Zoom class soon. Take care.